active right now, live, and I want to start this thing with a particular song, right? And I'm trying to cue this up so we can listen to this song. Okay.
Were you trying to serenade us, Mike?
I'm trying to do that, my brother.
Mhm.
I'm trying to do that, but
You should be playing some Guns N' Roses. Les, Doc,
Yeah, man.
Charlie,
I'm
welcome,
good,
brother.
bro. I'm good, bro.
Thank you.
Welcome to the audience as well.
Yes.
You know, I'm glad we're all
yeah,
here.
this is a track
Who's typing that stuff in, Mike?
Huh?
Who's typing the stuff I'm reading down the bottom?
I have no idea.
Mike, who's typing? We don't have no sound, Mike.
typing. Nobody's typing.
No sound.
Can you hear me?
No, I hear
We
you,
can
but
hear you, but we can't hear the media.
right. Who called the game?
Okay, I don't know what's happening here then.
You want me to sing
Who
it?
called the game? I think that's the question. No, I don't want to sing it. But what I want to do is first, start by saying thanks to you, Herb. Thanks for inviting Brenda, who's here from Toronto, Dr. Francis from Florida. Who we have now? We have also Charles Gross. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, brother?
Attorney
Grove,
Charles.
Groves,
Attorney
like
Charles.
Coconut Grove with an S.
Gross.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, with me, it was my regular host Sunday evening, brother, brother Patrick and Lass.
Where's
Again,
Patrick?
thank you very much, Patrick McCarthy. Okay, here he is now. Okay, Patrick, welcome.
Yeah.
Hi,
Thank you.
Pat.
Hey.
Pat.
I want to also big up the listeners who stay with us week in, week out there with us. I'm not going to call his name right now because the issue before us today is a sensitive issue and also an important issue. Brothers, last week I said I was a bit troubled, and trouble is a strong word. I can't get stronger still. Well, I was troubled because I saw a video, two videos, one done by Wayne Lonesome, and a second video done by a gentleman. I think he's based in London, and this individual did two videos, and in those videos, man, he went at Will Rattigan, and he questioned Rattigan integrity, and since that time, all sort of stuff happening. Yesterday, Mr. Rattigan, one of them, I guess, coming in, brother, Ishmael Douglas from out of Waterhouse. Yeah. So two videos I saw, and both videos focus on Mr. Rattigan and the work that is namely called to action, the diaspora group, and One Jamaica Legal Defense Fund. For me, when I listen to it, it raised all sorts of questions. Question about individual integrity, group integrity, and what have you. I am not sure what happened, but all of the brethren them were involved. Right. I'm friends with all of them. Acquaintance with all of them. Rattigan, again, Rattigan and I used to get up in the morning, leave our house at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 3 o'clock in the morning, and get on a transportation with our father and go to work. That's where Rattigan and I are coming from. I want to declare that. Another thing I want to declare is I invite Rattigan to join us. He's a regular host here. And he refused. Okay. I can say from talking with him, he's a bit troubled because of what he said. He felt I asked him to come and talk, but I don't know. The impression I'm getting is that Rattigan feel that he gets stabbed in the back, and therefore he just want to limit his interaction right now with anyone. And I don't know what's happening, Bridget. I'm hearing all sorts of stories. But this, what appeared to be a conflict and seemed to be, it's an ongoing conflict. It's not just now. Seems like this thing is going back to the protest in Washington, D.C. But rather than me speculate, Herb Nelson, you and Rattigan did a lot of work together. Tell us about the work you and Rattigan did. I don't want to get into the conflict here, but just tell us about the work that you and Rattigan engaged in over there. And
Well,
Mr. Francis, you can also tell us.
when I first met Ratty, it was down in Jamaica 8 years ago. We were there to make a presentation to the Jamaican government on safer cities created with smarter communities, meaning that the assets in the communities would form the leadership, much like the CDC. And that leadership could guide that community through the various building phases. In other words, team building, whether we use sports to do it or we had joint projects, we would promote that. We later saw this as Project Star last year when they finally got around to doing it 7 years later. So, having presented, we met him over at the Pegasus Hotel, and he was there, I guess, campaigning for the police commissioner position. I can't exactly remember why he was there. But, I had known of Mr. Rattigan before because of my job. And, it was good to finally meet him and know that here's somebody else fighting the good fight like we were. Right? So, having met him there, it wasn't until maybe 7 years later that we spoke to him, and Doc Francis developed a relationship with him where he brought him into the Jamaica Diaspora Crime Intervention and Prevention Task Force, and even put him in charge of the what was it, Doc? He put him in charge of the intelligence.
Intelligence, yeah.
Intelligence, right. So, Rattigan has had his opportunities with us to shine because we recognize him as an asset. And we've never had, you've never heard me say one bad word about him, right? But the thing is, he he has his own ways of doing things, and I have mine. And we both compromise over our differences to get things done. That was until I was in charge of the Washington D.C. protests. But that's another story to tell. But that in a nutshell is our relationship when we
Okay.
met, how we got together. Yeah.
And I'd just like to add a little value price. I want to say good evening to all your guests. Good evening to the panelists here. It's very important. I'm Dr. Rupert A. Francis, retired Army man. Spent quite a few years there. Also, I'm a retired politician, call it that way. I'm the laborer. They say jump in the fire, whatever. Me because I'm who I am. One of the most important things about me, I love Jamaica and I want to do better. And everyone on this panel, I don't bar none, I know have the same convictions that I have to move Jamaica forward in a positive way. And I've never, when Herbness was able to help put it together right away. And Rattigan was a great inspiration to it as well. I will never denounce him, badmouth him, anything because that's not necessary. Because we work well together. Nobody stabbed anybody in the back. Nobody. So anybody who's trying to allude that that's the case, it is rubbish. I'm here to use that type of language because I don't want it to escalate. I just want you to know it is not true. Okay? And I'm saying to you, we are going to have disagreements in groups at any time. And, but we must be able to retract. We need to come together and we need to find common ground, right? And that's how I see it. No one can say. I recently, unfortunately, has led to a point where I went to Rattigan left the group, for example, just to go further. 2 months ago, I said nothing because I didn't think it was a good thing to leave the group in any case based on whatever it was. We could resolve all our issues. Instead, he was able to say that he left the group because it was, how could it be true? Because we're doing so well nationally, internationally. And he said, well, because the reason why he left the group was because he had an argument with another Waterhouse man, his good friend of 50 something years. And it was
Well,
very,
Mr. Francis, Rattigan is not here to share his side of the story, you see? So
but
I don't want. Yeah, you're saying?
no, no. I'm sorry to cut you, but I'm just giving you a little background, and it's not a question of him telling this, but it is the truth. He knows. It is the truth that he left it, and no, no, I don't want to paint him as anything by the way by saying it. I'm just telling you how it went. Okay,
Okay.
and I'm not trying to because I believe that Rattigan is a good man. I don't have a problem with him. I'm not painting no bad brush, and I'm just going to tell you this: when we decided to go to, he decided that he was going to go to Canada, and we didn't have to join. We could say everything. No, I volunteered. I said I'm going to go to that with him, regardless. So what I was trying to say is cut through the tape and just say that there was no friction at all, no friction at all until we went to Canada. So that's basically it. So that's
Before
my
before before we get to that, because we're going to come back to the Canada thing, Last, you
Yeah.
you well, hold on, last. Patrick,
Yeah.
you saw the videos and what is your impression, my brother? What's your impression? Because you always guide people like me, So what's your impression? What do you think is happening amongst the brethren? Why them can't
Okay.
to me it seems a simple issue. A simple issue.
This
This
is this is
organizational weakness. And they can't resolve it. What is your impression?
all right. This is where I would want to begin.
Yeah.
I'd want to begin with the fact that last week I think it was, on this program. You know, we tried to get a report on, well, not tried, but we got a report on the proceedings in Canada, how it went.
Yeah.
And the report that we got was quite favorable. You know, it went very well. And, you know, I mean, there might have been some hiccups, but nothing to really be alarmed about. And, you know, it had reasonable attendance and everything. And, you know, everybody was looking forward to hear further from Ratty and Herb as to, you know, how the proceedings went from their standpoint, because at that time, I don't think either of them was on the program, right? So, having said that, it wasn't until, when was it? Wednesday, I got a call about, you know, being asked, well, what's really going on? And I said, what's really going on about what? And, you know, the question was, didn't you hear what was happening? And I said, well, I don't know what is happening beyond the fact that Canada went reasonably well. So I was referred to, I think it was Lonesome's video that was being that was online, right, from his show. And I said, well, okay, I'll check it out and see, you know, see if I can get some understanding as to what's happening. And I also watched another program with a blogger that I'm not too familiar with, but I think Urban and Dr. Francis was on his show, right? And this was when I was learning about, you know, Rattigan making a decision not to work with them any further, something to that effect. And of course, I was curious as to, okay, so how is it that, you know, none of us knew anything about this? Because this seemed to be something that had taken place over a week ago or something like that, before the Canadian event. But of course, I was in limbo because I said I can't really say anything without having a clear understanding as to what's really happening. Then when I looked at Lonesome's program, then I see where Lonesome was really going off the chain. And I was saying, you know, I don't understand this, because that kind of language to begin with has no place in you know, our proceedings, you know. And when I say our proceedings, I don't mean our personal proceedings. I mean what we have undertaken to do or to be a part of, right? We have to understand that this is something which really commands respect of everybody, right? Regardless of how you might feel about a person or whatever, right? It doesn't excuse you to treat them with, to be disrespectful towards them. That was the first thing. And I don't expect to be correcting a grown person over their conduct. So this was my feeling, my initial feeling as far as, you know, Lonesome was concerned. But at the same time, I was trying to get an understanding as to what is it that offended him so much. But of course, he never really got into that. All he was talking about on the show was about, you know, he was just being disrespectful towards both Herb and Dr. Francis. And I said, well, you know, I can't watch this because this is not telling me anything. So of course, afterwards, I got in touch with Herb, and you know, he and I had some discussion, and of course, he explained to me, you know, his side of what was taking place and all of that. I'm yet to hear anything from Rattigan. But my position is, bottom line, whatever the difference is, right? It can't be anything that cannot be worked out amongst us. It has absolutely no business you know, having that kind of display publicly. And that goes to Lonesome as well. Because I've seen Lonesome, you know, on his program with all the people involved. So it's people it's not people who he's meeting for the first time, or it's not people who he doesn't know at all. And it's not people we can't talk to. So how is it that it get to that stage that he's disrespecting them in that disgraceful way, right? In the public. So that is really where my issue is, right? We work it out. We get to the bottom of it, right? If it's something that, you know, arises from some disagreement, then let's see what the disagreement is and we resolve it. But that's not the way it's handled. Because when you're dealing with things of the sort that we are doing, you're likely to have differences. You're likely to have differences. But there's a responsible way that you deal with it. Because this is not a personal thing, you know. This is something that we take on, we undertake, right, to do, right, in the interest of the Jamaican people. Right? And if we're doing something in the interest of the Jamaican people, we have a responsibility, right, and a duty to them to act with integrity. Right? That kind of behavior is not behavior that can be tolerated. Right? So I have to say all of this because, of course, everything is public now. And of course, when I listened to Rattigan's program yesterday, right, I don't think the discussion, well, it wasn't really a discussion, but I don't think the way he stated himself, right, addressed the matter. It didn't. So just in case he's thinking that it really addressed it, it didn't. So that's my position right now.
Last, what happened in Toronto? What happened in Toronto, my brother? Because you were on the ground.
First, I want to say, I believe I've been listening to some of the bloggers. I've been listening to Rattigan. And it is clear to me that up to now, nobody wants to face exactly what happened and tell the truth about what happened. Some of you might have seen the video with Lonesome, as Patrick said, going off, disrespecting Brenda, who is in the chat with us on voice only. But he was carrying on disrespecting everybody. And nobody wants to face up to the fact that that happened. So far, Ratty has spoken. Ratty is pretending that this never happened. Right? I can give a background from my perspective, how this thing started. I went to the event on the 26th of July. When I went to the event, I met some of the people in the movement. I met Brenda. I met a guy called Michael Gordon. As a matter of fact, Michael Gordon was one of the first guys I met when I reached the location. Spoke. Then I parked my car. I went inside. None of the leaders were there up to that point. So, you know, we were just chit-chatting with some people. Me and Michael sat down. After a few hours, Michael went away and come back to me and told me that there was a move to try and register the Global Diaspora Organization in Canada, and that Brenda was the lead person trying to do that. And he asked me if I would be interested in working with Brenda to get the organization registered. I said, yes, no problem, because I know from discussions on this platform with Rattigan months ago that there was a move to get the Global Diaspora Organization registered, not just in Canada, but also across the United States. Okay, that was the 26th. Myself, Michael, and Brenda, we had a brief discussion, we exchanged numbers, and we agreed to meet at a particular time to discuss how we go ahead, how we go further ahead in planning the registration. So we met. Michael went away and came back the next meeting, and he had a question. His question was, is Lonesome involved in the registration? No, Lonesome is not part of the registration. It's just 3 of us. I guess he wasn't satisfied. The next meeting he come back, he said he called Lonesome. Apparently he called Lonesome, told Lonesome what was happening, right? I think it was at that meeting that Dr. Francis, you joined us.
Yes.
Right? And you were trying to put the whole registration process in perspective. Nobody at that meeting, absolutely nobody at that meeting said anything disrespectful against Lonesome, nothing about Lonesome. It was Michael Garden who was interested in whether Lonesome is going to participate. The day after, I think it was a day or 2 days after, I see a video with Lonesome who was saying he was ranting about Brenda. She was stink, dirty. She was everything you can think of that's derogatory. Brenda is here in the chat, and I'm sure we'll hear from her. I was surprised at what was happening. He was saying that somebody told him, which is this person who told him was Michael Garden, was part of our thing, who told him that we were saying he's political, he should not be part of this thing, he's partisan, all kind of stuff like that. And that anything happening in Canada, right, have to come through him. That was Lonesome's position on his video. My problem is this, Michael and the rest of the panel and the audience. I felt after this incident happened and it was on social media, I was listening for Rattigan, who is a close friend of Lonesome, to come out and say, no, this is not the right way to do this thing. Rattigan is a leader in this thing. This is not how we do it. Here is a sister who is trying to participate in the process, right, of getting this thing organized. And you trying to pull her apart, right? And then you have the leadership being silent and saying nothing about it. I saw Rattigan on the previous day on another program with Lonesome. And I say, yes, Ratty must be feeling a responsibility to address this issue, right? And what I saw was very, very disappointing for me, right? In how I expected Rattigan should be addressing this thing. I saw Rattigan just lowering, right? What was being said while Lonesome was attacking Captain Francis, attacking Brenda, attacking other guests on the program who saying people are labor rights and people are planned, right? I'm not expecting that kind of thing where it's supposed to go. Instead, I hear Rattigan throwing gasoline on the thing by talking about people coming in this man's house and all kind of bullshit, right? And I am disappointed, right, that Ratty was dealing with this issue. And I had expected that Rattigan would be here so that we could have a talk about this thing and say, you know what, to him face and tell him, say, boy, I'm disappointed in you as a leader in this movement, right? Because me expect you to stand up on your integrity as a leader and say, and even though me and a friend, this thing is not right. This is not how we deal with this thing. And I believe if Rattigan had done that at that moment in time, a lot of the confusion that is out there on social
Can you guys mute your mic? I'm getting
media
feedback.
could have been avoided.
Yeah. All right. Brenda,
Hello, yes, sir. How can I
Hello.
help you? How are you, gentlemen?
tell me your insight. You want to share your insight with us? What you experience and all that stuff? Because I heard Lonesome and he went at you. So here's the platform. Tell me what's happening.
Well, I must say thank you for inviting me and good evening to all that's in attendance. My name is Brenda. I'll give you a brief background of who I am and what I'm about. I am a registered nurse in the province of Ontario. I have worked for over 40 years in the nursing profession as a registered nurse. I am a staff nurse currently at one of the GTA, which is Greater Toronto Hospital, as a nurse. I have lived outside of Jamaica since the age of 13. So, based on what I have told you about the years of working in Canada and living outside of Jamaica from the age of 13, you could figure out where my age group would be. I am not a child, I'm a woman over 60 years old. I offered to help with this project that was to register the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, but technically council cannot be used in Canada because that's one of the titles that they will not register anything with a council here in Canada. So we would have to change that when we register it. So I offered to get this done. Initially, I had spoken to Mr. Rattigan, thinking that maybe I could do this and do it and paying it out of my pocket for myself, only to be registered. And then we would get all of the other participants in it because the registration process takes a time because you can either register federally or provincially. That was my initial thought, provincially. But, ideally, federally would be better. I have always been in touch with Mr. Rattigan over the period of time that I happened to talk to him on the phone. Even on his live shows, I would be there in the audience commenting and all that. I did not have a problem with Mr. Rattigan. I know that there was some issue, but I don't know the extent of it with the group from the US. I wasn't privy to the information as to what transpired. I was contacted. How I got involved was I was contacted after the problem occurred with the group in the US to form a call to action group here in Canada. And a number of people were placed in the group, and I was supposed to be the admin. And the purpose was to get people in the group so we could do a protest in Canada. That was the intention. It happens that it did not work out the way I want. It would have been meant that the group did not stay together. So of course I proceeded to get the registration done either way. So I went to the venue that was slated for the 26th of July, took time off from my full-time job and went. And there was a person that I recognized from my place of employment. And I beckoned to him when I saw him initially, but he was on the phone, so he did not respond to me. Then he actually went and sat down at a table, and I just happened to have a spot at the table next to him. And I am someone who has been working in nursing, and because of COVID, I always tend to wear a mask in public, still to this day, because I work in an area that I'm facing the public who are coming from off the street. So I pulled my mask down and said, "Hi, do you recognize me? You work at such and such a place. I won't name the hospital." And he said, "Yes, I know you." Now, I have been working at that institution for 17 years. I have always seen this individual in the hallways doing his thing, and I am a nurse. I worked in another area. So I went to him and said, "I'm trying to get this thing done, Would you mind putting your name to it, because it's for Jamaica, it's for help us overall, for Canadians and Jamaicans in Canada and Jamaica?" And he said yes. So he took my number, called me to confirm, and it happens to be that Mr. Crawford was sitting next to him, and he went to Mr. Crawford and said, "Would you like to join?" And this is how I got Mr. Crawford number and the confirmation with the two of us called. And I was there at the venue until I left about 6, because there was a delay in the program. I won't even get into that part. But anyway, I don't mean to bore you guys, but I'm just letting you know how I came into this. I went home and I contacted these gentlemen after the initial contact on the 26th and said, "Can we set up a date and a time for a follow-up meeting?" All agreed that we would do so, and it was done. I had no idea that I was stepping on somebody's toes for registering this entity. Had I known that I needed to get permission from somebody that I did not even speak to or know, that was a surprise to me. And I was being told I had to do this. So in my response text to him, I said, "I do not know this person." I stated it clearly, and I said to him, "This is not going to be a political surrogate for any." When I use the word surrogate, meaning you are carrying something for another party into the group, I said we can't have that. We want a group that is inclusive. I even shared material with them to show how inclusive the group that I want in Canada. And I have underscored some things that I have to share with you. I have mentioned in the body of some of the things that I put on the information I shared with both Mr. Crawford and Michael Gordon, that we are inclusive regardless of class, economic class, ethnicity, sexual orientation, everything. I did not leave anybody out. I didn't leave you out of the profile. So I am saying that I don't care what position you are in society, you are included in this group. And I shared those things with him and Mr. Crawford. I was surprised when I got attacked. I was surprised. I am saying, here I am. Nobody knows me. I just work where I am. I do my job. I come home. I don't get, and I was being dragged through the mud because of me trying to give back to the country that I was born in. I was born before independence. I left Jamaica when I was 13. I have never inked my finger to vote. Me never vote comrade. Me never vote labor right. Yes, me may have interest in some of the things that the labor right do. Yes, me have interest in the PNP, and we will criticize both of them. In fact, me have posts on Facebook where the people who are Labour writer call me comrade because at one point I said I supported the Labour Party before their 2016 election. But I stopped supporting them because when Michael Andrew Holness promised things to be done, he did not fulfill them within the first 2 years. And me say no, me not putting me not, when me say support, me mean blog. Like things when me say would be something to make people give him a chance and the party. And he wasn't doing it. So me walk away from them and me get cussed out. Me get cussed out by people. Yet I have never voted. So I am a comrade now to some, and I am a traitor to the other side. So I am caught in the middle. And here I am being drawn and quartered again, guillotined in public for what I am trying to do.
Well, that's not going to happen. None of that is going to happen. You know, as long as we are around at this platform, we'll defend truth, rights, and justice. Brother Mike and Ishmael, you guys are you're catching on what's happening here. I would like to hear two independent. Tell me what's going on.
Thank you for for being here again. What I can say is that in life and in the fight for justice, there will be disagreements, but never lose sight of your, the main goal. And a part of your main goal, I would say, also, remind me your name again.
My name is Brenda.
Brenda, thank you. A part of your main goal, Brenda, is to aid us in rescuing Jamaica. So you are on a mission to rescue Jamaica. So don't lose sight of that. There will be speed bumps, and that is fine. Without problems in life, we can't learn. So, regardless, your main goal is to rescue Jamaica. So pay no attention to the detractors and this issue. Just learn from it. It's okay. That's how I look at it. So it's fine. The truth is, as young, I'd want to say that I'm the youngest of the lot. Well, I am, because if you look on the side of my mouth, you still see the milk. Right. So these things happen, and I'm sure in about a few months, this will be a distant memory to you. So continue to fight.
I must say this, Ishmael. Yes, things happen, but the way Lonesome described this history, or the way I'm not sure if you saw the thing, but the way he described this person, this sister, that no right. That no right.
Oh, you said that not right.
No, that can't be right. And it's not right through Lonesome. Mark, we're trying to build a democratic movement here, a people so can do what we have to do. And let me say this. I received quite a few complaints from friends of mine in Toronto who said that they were told that the event going to start at 3 and up to 5 o'clock. Nothing happened. To me, it seemed as if the lack of organizational skill, proper planning, did not go into any of these protest events. People just get up and do things without thinking it through. Mr. Groves, you're a lawyer. You know that in terms of your line of work, planning is very important. Planning and execution.
Absolutely. And I took a look at the video. I couldn't really watch it for more than 5 minutes because it was like they were in a fry fish shop throwing words at each other. So I know Herb very well. Herb is a professional. I've spoken to Dr. Francis in the past, and I know that he's a professional. I was listening to Lonesome, and I thought that he was like in a hog pen. So I just shut off my telephone and went about my business. And then Herb called me today to let me know what was going on, because Herb and I went to St. George's College in 1962-63, and we have remained close ever since. So I know that he's a man of integrity. I know that he has a lot of experience with the army and so on and so forth. And as a matter of fact, when I first heard that Herb was going to be in this organization with Rattigan, I didn't know who Rattigan was, but how I perceived it as a professional, I thought that Rattigan was sort of looking for some sort of position. And to me, even with the demonstrations and so on, I believe that it was wrong, because you're bringing your country into disrepute. If you want to go and demonstrate against the government of Jamaica, you do it in Jamaica. Not to bring the whole 3 million of individuals into the diaspora, into this sort of cascas. It's just not becoming of us as a people. If we have disagreements, we have to trash it out by ourselves. But we do not act like we are above the law. In any event, I heard about other matters which I think Herb is going to discuss. And I think it's very serious, because you're involved in prison work. So I'll say no more until Herb gives his take of what is really going on.
May I say something? May I say something quickly? Just to add value to this. I understand everybody's position, but I'm telling you this: the onslaught that came as a result of Lonesome is one of the worst things I've ever had to listen to in my entire life. And the worst part about it is that we went to support, at least I mean I can talk for her. We went to Ratty, we went to support Ratty and Lonesome in Canada. But and I spoke to Lonesome the night before for almost 2 hours. This thing happened. And I said to him, look, they thought that we want to take over Canada. That's the line that they're pushing. Nobody wants to do that. What we want is Jamaica, work on Jamaica for everybody. This young man just came on a little while, Ishmael. He's smart beyond his words, because I'm telling you, he really hit it out of the park. And Brenda was straightforward. My lawyer friend was straightforward. But this, Mr. Brother Groves, the fact of the matter, and okay, somebody was there who know all the steps as well to Brother Crawford. So the fact of the matter is that there's some misinformation going on and disinformation. And we want to. I have been asking for this thing to be, and our people are crying. I'm telling you, lots of people are coming. They are so sad at the development, because we have made so much strides for Jamaica, right? Because nobody was saying anything, and everybody was afraid. So we had to say something. And we're going to have different opinions on this one. But the fact of the matter is that we're doing so well. So what happened? That's the key. Why did it happen? Who, what, when, where? Why did it happen? And as former investigators and so on, we have to look at that. So I just wanted to share with you that what was happening and what he said about Brenda really aggrieved me, because I've known her for a long time. And she, I mean, come on. What can I tell you? The lady speak. And you don't treat women like that.
Mike, give me your take, Mike.
Gentlemen, good afternoon. How are you all?
Not too bad, Mike.
Michael, I've had the privilege of knowing Dr. Francis, Brenda, and obviously my brother Herb. I feel the same anguish that Dr. Francis just expressed. Why? Because I've been quietly, and the operative word is quietly, working behind the scenes to align with Brenda and get registration done for the group. I have spent money to register the New York. I'm working on DC, and I've given money to the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation. I'm not a upfront man per se because I have a busy practice to run. I'm a licensed accountant here in the States, and I'm pretty busy, and I'm blessed, and I will no complaints. I have the video from Lonesome Show, but I refuse to watch it. Why? I have grown to respect Brenda so much by the way she comports herself and the way she's actively putting Jamaica first. And I have spoken to Wayne in the past, been on his show and talked with him and the like, but that is past, what he did was past disgraceful. And it's a pain that I feel, and it's a pain for the Jamaican people that we all seek to serve. We should not be doing this. And I know Ratty, when they came for the New York demonstration, both Ratty and Jeffrey were unable to go where they were supposed to be for that night. I put them up. Gladly put them up. And offer them whatever comforts from my home. I am a supporter of justice and integrity and truth and the whole 9 yards. But I am so pained by Wayne's behavior. And it says more about Wayne's disregard for women than anything else. And it's sad. It's incredibly sad. Because we stand to lose so much more because of this public disgrace than we can imagine. Hopefully, the auspices of your show and others will help to stem the tide of disgrace and pain and restore some order to this. Because now that, and I know Ratty, I've talked to Ratty. Ratty was here, we chit chat, whatever. His silence is deafening. And I could say this. The new alignment then throws into doubt the ability of the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation to go forward as a not-for-profit. Because if, as has been stated, Wayne's operation has strong political leanings, then that's a violation of the rules of engagement regarding not-for-profit organizations in the United States. You can set up another type shop with political leanings, but not a 501c3, which is what the One Jamaica Legal Defense Fund is. So the possibility of the One Jamaica Legal Defense Fund going forward as a not-for-profit is now strongly in doubt. I don't know if the people who have donated to it will seek refunds and the like, but this is the damages that has been done. And it is painful because so many have worked so tirelessly for it to come this far. I've had many conversations with Dr. Francis, with Brenda. I was on with you before when we were discussing about the Prime Minister's financial dealings with all those houses that he bought, with the gifts that he got that we don't know about.
Yeah.
I'm Jamaican. You cut me, I bleed black, green, and gold. This is shameful and painful. I don't know how we recover from it, but you know, every day you get up is a new day. Sunshine, you're breathing, you're standing on your own 2 feet. That's a good sign that there's life. And I pray that we find a way forward after this debacle, because this is really a horrible. This is not even a black eye. This is like getting your both legs cut from underneath you, and you're falling into a sewer. That's how painful this is. This is crazy. None of it makes sense, Mike. And as I said, Ratty's silence is deafening. And Ratty, may have also harmed his own integrity. And I like Ratty, but I never saw this coming. Not for where we've been so far for the last several months that I've supported the endeavor on my own. And I'm not the only one, but this is painful. And it's going to be a serious reversal of fortunes. And you know, the old saying, you only get one chance to make a first impression. And now this, I don't know, Mike. I'm not sure prayer is enough to help this one. This is the deathly blow.
I'm not one of those who give up that easy. Okay. To me, where I sit, this issue is about miscommunication, the lack of planning, and the lack of organizational experience. You know. And I say planning because if you're going to move an operation from America to Canada, you have to know the rules. You can't just go into Canada and do stuff like that. You have to know the rules. Likewise, in America, you have to know the rules. And it seemed to me that the discussion about Canada, or the lack of discussion, create a vacuum and give rise to certain ideas. For example, this notion that if anything happens in Canada, it must come through lonesome or whatever. That come about because nobody make it clear to lonesome as to the type of organization what they're seeking to establish. You know? So I hear you, Mike. I share your pain, but I think we can save this one. All we need is just the brethren them rise to the occasion. You know, rise to the occasion.
Michael, can I say
go ahead.
It's you see, sometimes we can talk in generalities about it's just for the brethren them do this and just for the brethren them do that and just for people. We have to zero in on where and who doing what, right? And why the thing get off course. We can't talk in generalities. We have to point people. You see, the problem we have is that up to now, this happening with Brenda and the whole aspect of lonesome. Nobody is talking about it, you know. You hear Ratty talk on the thing, you hear other people talk and whatever, and they're not talking about this part of it. They talk around it, like other things. They talk about other things and other things and bypass. We need to be specific and say, you know what, this is wrong and that is wrong. And if it's you responsible, you need to change your ways and come again. My problem is we are on a course where we're talking about transparency, we're talking about accountability, all of these things. And we're talking about it for politicians. We need to also talk about it for our own leaders and for ourselves. What is happening right here? I listened to Ratty program yesterday, and here is the other disappointment. When I hear other bloggers say it, I feel hurt, but I worse feel hurt when Ratis imply these things. Like us who are talking and us who want to talk to him and ask him questions, right? It's as if we are stabbers in the back and we want to mash up something. I don't know what. These are the things that we need to get to. If we can ask government to for transparency and that we want our politicians to sit before us, that we can ask them questions. We need to have Rattigan in a position where we can ask him question. Why are you supporting Lonesome in this? Why are you not speaking out about him denigrating and degrading our sister? We have our leaders accountable, and Ratty need to stand at his own integrity, right? And defend the things that we've been talking about on this platform and other platforms about how we want to create a Jamaica where there's transparency and accountability, and we can bring our leaders in front of us and ask them questions and force them to give us answers. That is what we want. And this is not happening. And this is where I'm upset.
I'm upset.
Right?
Let me say, I want to support this brother because I want to say things that Mr. Groves knows. He has a big problem with some bauxite, something that is happening in Jamaica. That nobody can. We have to try to help him solve it, and we are committed to help him solve it. I mean, I hope I didn't take tales out of school, but it is clear what the destruction that is happening in Jamaica, and we as Jamaicans have a responsibility to make sure it does not happen, regardless of who is in power. Don't worry about that. If them calling me now a JLP plant, how on God's earth I have a target on my back? I've been threatened hundreds of times, and yet I'm a JLP plant. Are you mad? And you are advancing that type of narrative? Let me make it quite clear about organization, my friend. Organizational management is in my portfolio and my brother Herb's portfolio and my brother Nick's portfolio. That's what we do. And I'm telling you something. How could we have gotten so far from a dirty 30 to where we are today, where they have to listen to us now? They might not want to answer, but they have to, because they're trembling. Because why? We have hit the nail on the head. Right? With all the things that they're doing, we are holding them accountable. So we now have to hold ourselves accountable. We had a biennial conference that not only lasted 3 days, it lasted one whole week. And we had experts there. Let's not forget, and that did not come overnight. That was planned. Everything was planned. And it was not one person who planned it. We all planned it. Okay, so this business of giving credit, I mean, and Lonesome told me that, nobody can come to Canada and except him admit them. Who is he? You understand me? And then him demonize me and say, these things, and not only Brenda, but demonize people what? Because he doesn't understand her. Right? He even demonized the fact that I had my qualifications. His wife did, for example. Now, why would you go and look, go and research it, Google it? You can go. I encourage anybody what I've done. I'm not ashamed. The information is there, and we have our website to prove it, and our Facebook, everything. So why am I incensed? I'm incensed because we're so near to our objective, yet some people cannot see it, and they have derailing us. What is the reason? Who, what, when, why, how? Why is it happening? That is the key. Okay, so don't look at me and say, oh, you must stop. I have written letters. I have spoken on the telephone to every individual. I'm not going to, and if they want me to show it, I show the information. But I say to you, you will not turn us back. We are going to hold governments accountable. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say.
May I ask a question, please?
Go ahead.
Okay. My issue is accountability of the monies that are being collected by this organization. Who is collecting the money? Where is the records of the monies that are being collected? Is there some sort of accountability for these monies, the spending and the collection? I would like Herb to address that.
Thank you, Charlie. You know, folks, at 2 o'clock today, I got a call from Mr. Rattigan, and he had on the three-way with him a gentleman known as Richard. He told me Richard was a licensed practical nurse. I never heard about this man before. I knew somebody existed as a fourth person in our board of OJLDF. And Richard turns out to be the third person because the other person resigned. She could not handle the duties and responsibilities and do her job. So she had to leave the OJLDF. So now we have three people. And you have three people, and Ratty's using this person who's never done any work, who's probably never been at our
Can we avoid using that sort of language? Ratty is
language, Mike.
Ratty is doing this. What I'm getting at is that Rattigan is not here to defend himself.
Okay, but I'm saying what happened at 2 o'clock. Rattigan can always call in and argue.
Yeah, but you also said that Rattigan.
What happened at 2 o'clock today, Mike?
What I'm saying.
So let me finish, okay? You wanted us to speak up. We're speaking up. Rattigan called to tell me that he's going to vote me off the board. But before he had a chance to vote me off the board, I said to him, Rattigan, you have to be more accountable to the board and to the people who contribute to us. Rattigan, when I said to him in New York, people are giving us money and we're collecting all this cash. We need to have a list of the people who donate, a donors list. That's the IRS regulation. We did it again in Washington. All we did was add up money. We didn't have a donors list. So I put together this list that the lonesome wife says, I asked her for pen and paper. Some 80 people were at the event, put the names down, and the ones that gave me money, I annotated it. The ones that gave Rattigan money, I asked him, what are the names and can we list them? He said, don't worry about it. Okay? So we were in violation in 3 different places that I was with him. And that is irresponsible.
I'm feeling uncomfortable.
Well, don't feel uncomfortable, Mike. Just listen. That's what you asked me to explain.
No, it's not just
Michael.
No.
Michael, can I say something?
Go ahead.
I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't see what you're getting at.
Because Rattigan is not here, you know.
No, but Rattigan comes on other platforms and he has opportunities to say what we are trying to say here. What is the problem? I don't see it. What's the problem, Michael?
All the other fears about.
He can answer, Mike. He can answer on any platform and anywhere he wants to respond.
I would like to hear what Herb has to say, because this is where the prison time come in.
Just a minute, Mr. Grove. Patrick, let me hear you now. Yeah,
you're muted, Pat.
You're muted.
You're muted, Patrick.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying that really, Mike, we need to allow people to speak and say just what they want to say, because that's basically what has been happening on all the platforms. And the problem is that a lot of questions remain unanswered. Rattigan had his opportunity to be here. He chose not to be here, right? And like I said, it's like he wants to talk to who he wants to talk to when he wants to talk to them. But we want to hear from him, right? And if Herb is here and we need to hear from Herb, let us hear from Herb.
Okay, Herb. Go ahead, Herb.
Thank you.
Proceed. Yeah, proceed.
Now, I'm not bad mouthing and I'm not claiming anything, but I want to say I clearly said to him, he's a lawyer. He understands the rules of having to have a donor list, right? And he ignored that. And I explained that to the third member of the board. And there was the other instance that I said to him, if we're not following the 501c3 rules, they will decertify the organization. And I don't want to be in a situation where my name comes up that I didn't follow the rules, when in fact I've been trying to get them to follow the rules. Rattigan has kept all the records on OJLDF. I don't have anything. I have a website that tells me who donates using Zelle. That's it. But that's not the entire record. He has not posted anything for public view. So when Lonesome and his wife bring up that we are walking away with money, you understand my concern, Mike? We're not walking away with the people's funds and keeping it for ourselves. The people need to know what happened to the money, right? And so in a situation like that, where we are fully accountable, then he has to have the records to show what happens to the people's money. Now,
and those records are not due until the end of the year.
No. They're supposed to be posted intermittently, so people are reassured.
No.
And the IRS is reassured that we're keeping records.
Quarterly.
Quarterly.
Okay, that's different.
All right, Mike. All right. Now, Rattigan said on his show yesterday, he left the group 2 months ago, but he was that he was helping us all along for the whole 2 months. He was not. Right? So when we realized that two people, Prezi and Jeffrey Tavares, were in the group and all they would do is pass news back to Rattigan, the decision was made that everybody had to go. Jeffrey, Prezi, Rattigan. They couldn't. We were hoping. We kept them on, hoping that Rattigan would come back to the group.
The decision was made by who?
By the Call to Action group.
Okay, Call to Action.
Okay, because what's the use of everything that we say in the group being repeated by Lonesome's wife, talking about deep dives and other stuff this woman doesn't understand and was never aware of? Where did she get it from? Where does Lonesome get his news from? Right? So we could not afford to have spies in the midst creating situations for us in Canada that we had to respond.
Did you discuss this with them? Rattigan can't afford to have spies in the group or whatever.
We
discussed your concern with Rattigan.
Did Rattigan want to speak to me? Every time I call Rattigan, him say, I'll talk to you in the morning.
No, the question I'm
asking. I didn't get a chance to, Mike. Listen. I did not get a chance to discuss it because he avoided it. He didn't want to talk to me. He didn't want a confrontation. All right? You keep asking these questions, but understand the man did not want to speak to. Matter of fact, we decided that we would, as a group, call him up and have this discussion. And I know Dr. Francis called and spoke to him.
Okay.
But at no time did he choose to speak to us as a group.
Listen to it. Let me just say this. I just want to support Herb on this one. Listen, it is quite obvious that not only me, not only Herb, and so on, Ratty did not want to address the issue. I do not know what it is between Ratty, Lonesome, and there's another actor in the game. What is that is? Well, I have a good idea. They wanted to go a certain political direction, and we kept on saying we have to keep it without the politics, and maybe that's the issue. I don't know. I'm only speculating. However, I told you already, I spoke to Lonesome. I tried to speak, I spoke to Ratty the day and tried to resolve things and so on. I wrote him a letter to confirm it because I was getting a lot of requests from members of the audience and the call to action and so on. So I wrote him a letter to indicate, I have a copy of it, to indicate how I felt we should do. And he did not respond. And because that was before, because I figured, I didn't know what was coming with yesterday. I listened, but I did not participate. And let me make it quite clear. There are a couple actors in there that are pushing information. I told him, I made him aware that these people are going to bring this thing down. And they did. And they did. And they think they're right. Okay, to try to destroy the entire framework of what we have been doing. And the fact of the matter is that this is about Jamaica, as I said before. And I want to support her. He did not want to communicate with her. What could have helped, made him get Herb off the board by a skillful maneuver? Why is that so? That is very underhand. And when a man who has researched for you, I have not done the research that Herb has done. And then you're going to get, well, one more thing. Let me say this. You see the letter that I wrote? It is the wife said, Lonesome wife said, I didn't write it. No, I can send all of you the company, the letters that came, we did, and so on and so. I have those in my, I don't throw away anything. And it can't get into my computer. They tried, but they couldn't. The fact of the matter is, right? And other way, because I keep it several different places. We did, believe me, I'm not perfect. I have no halo around my head. But there's no reason for me to come here and lie. None at all. And I still like Rattigan no matter what.
Mike, let me say this.
Yeah.
At this point, right, two things that we violated on OJLDF was the failure to have a donors list and the failure of Mr. Rattigan to realize that his political affiliation with Wayne Lonesome is a no-no under 501c3. So he put the whole OJLDF in danger. If we are decertified, as the lawyer and the accountant will tell you, if we are decertified, then people going to want their money back. And he and this other gentleman will be responsible for that, right? I'm off the board because they pulled that maneuver today, okay? If Rattigan wants to respond to you next week or before we get off today, he needs to do so we can hear from him. But he needs to explain himself to the good people in the audience as to why he endangered them. Why was Lonesome accusing us of walking off with money, of claiming money we weren't entitled to? This is my entire thing. That's why I was pushing so hard for accountability.
I got a question, Herb.
Yeah.
You said that you're off the board.
Yeah.
Right? You were forced off the board? Is that
forced
what
off. Yeah.
No. My question is, right? When OGLDF was being registered, right? Wasn't your name on the registration documents as being a part of it, and that's how you end up being on the board?
Yes.
Okay. Now, also, in terms of you coming off the board, right? That kind of maneuver has to be illegal.
Mhm.
It has to be illegal. You can't up and force somebody off the board, right, for simply no reason, right? It has to state what the violation is, if there's a violation.
There's no violation, Patrick. What he said to me is, with everything that's going on, we can't have you on the board. That's it.
Yeah, but in such a circumstance, then he would have to ask you to withdraw from being on the board, not to force you off.
Or the board can vote on a motion.
And if they vote on a motion, then they have to state what the motion is they're voting on.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but
I know that.
it was just about getting me off. He said something to
But
the
that
guy.
you see, that's the problem. The problem is that these things are not just simply wishy-washy things. These are legal matters as well.
Yep. Well, he's gonna find out how much legal it is, because this is not gonna stand, right? And I know he's gonna have his own opinion as to why he did it, right? This man, everybody's saying our fearless leader, right? He could not make it in anybody's military, because they would have him down as the original backstabber and a person who cannot be trusted. Now, I have never said anything the first time, like I was saying, I encountered Ratty's backstabbing ways was when I was planning the Washington, D.C. protests. And Doc Francis is here. He'll tell you, Rattigan go behind my back to everybody on the call to action thing and try to get them to vote not to have it during Caribbean American Month Legislative Week. And he was going to force the vote. And they turned against him. Includes Lion, his friend of 52 years, who said to him, Ratty, you can't vote on Herb's assignment because we didn't vote on yours and we didn't vote on Doc Francis.
But he said it on his show as well.
Yeah.
He said it on his show that DC was your baby.
Yeah.
Right? You were the one handling it. He handled New York, you were handling DC. Right? He said it on his show repeatedly.
And he still went behind my back to try and change things. This is why I said that's not leadership.
Yeah, but
what Dr. Francis and I learned in the military is leadership is the art of influencing others to do things that they don't want to do. That's leadership.
But hear me, Herb.
Yeah.
There was a dispute about the day. What day would be most effective? Whether the Friday would be or the Saturday. Your argument, according to what I heard, your argument was the Saturday because of it would tie in with the Caribbean Institute.
Caribbean American Month Legislative Week.
So you guys couldn't reach an agreement as to the Friday or Saturday?
We had the conversation before and he decided to let it go ahead. So 2 weeks before the event, he's bringing it up for vote. And I'm saying, wait, this is madness.
Well, can I interject one moment because I was there? Can I just interject one moment, please? And let me say this to you. The whole business, I wanted to, I listened to both sides of the story because it was both sides of the story. And honestly, at first I thought Friday was the better day, right? At first. But when Herb explained it to me, I said, you know something? Herb has a point. There were other reasons why they wanted it on Friday because it would be open and it would maybe come in contact with the what do you call it, the ambassador and all that.
Ambassador. Yeah.
Yes. But so that might be a primary reason, but not mine. Mine was to go there and do what we did. Let me make it quite clear. I was looking at the other side of one, and then I changed and I said, no, I think Herb, you're gonna get. And when the vote was done, maybe I'm not gonna say who was incensed and who wasn't, but it was not a happy camper. So the fact of the matter is this now, what people must understand, is that they must stop looking from a personal point of view, but an objective point of view, right? And look at the entire thing. The truth is the key, right? And I could not come on national space and come and talk about this thing if it were not true, right? And the fact of the matter is we have to hold ourselves accountable. We are saying to the government, and these people are laughing at us now. Look at Vegas went walk all over. Oh, so look at them now. Look at them now. He couldn't even muster up 12 people to come to his thing, right? And this is what so I'm saying to you: some mischief is afoot, as I said in Julius Caesar. Mischief is afoot. I don't know what it is, but I tell you, I'm going to find out, because I'm saying to you, no mischief that they have brought on anybody. Well, I know some of the actors, I would imagine. But no mischief will prevail. That's what I say.
Could I ask another question?
Right. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
And this is of Herb. Herb, did Rattigan use money from the legal defense fund to pay his attorney's fees bill in Jamaica when he tried to sue the government minister?
Yeah, yes, he did. He came back and said, since we were formed to fight corruption, that he could legally do that, even though we were formed after the case had been filed. So he took care of himself. I just want to say in another instance that he also has filed a case against the information minister in Morgan, in Jamaica, in which Morgan about to give him a settlement. But prior to that, they disparaged and slandered Dr. Francis. And Dr. Francis asked him to file something on his behalf to get the same settlement, and he wouldn't do it. So it almost...
Let me ask you this, sir. You see,
yeah.
You knew all this for some time now, right? All of what you're complaining about, all of what you shared with us. You knew that for some time, right?
Yep.
At any time, did you present these concerns that you have to Rattigan or any other member? At any time, did you present that?
It was presented in our call to action group. That's why the group was so tight. Rattigan would not have a one-on-one with me. We have to do it via the group.
Yes, okay. And hearing you, what did the group decide to do?
Doc, you want to tell him what the group decided to do?
Well, let me say this to you. When everything was unfolded, we decided to look into it, and we decided to get to the bottom and reorganize going forward and that sort of thing. I mean, I didn't.
Mr. Francis, was there a discussion with Rattigan about all these concerns?
Not with Rattigan. Rattigan was not there. Rattigan left the group. Remember, he said 2 months ago after an argument with Lion, and then but we had conversations with each other in there afterwards, of course. You see what I'm saying? We had conversations about these things that were happening. And furthermore, there are people from the public that are asking questions, right? Asking questions about that. And so we would ask, what's going on? I didn't ask him because I did not want to. That's not my portfolio. The money part, I'm not a member of OLJLDF at all. So I didn't ask him.
Okay. Brenda,
Yes, sir.
when you listen to all this, us men talking, what's going through your head? You know, when you listen to it, because all men involved in conflicts and disagreements and what have you. I know it is said that when we have problems, women tend to approach problem from their stomach, while men tend to approach problem from the head. Everybody has an idea or something. What's your view of what you're hearing? What you
Okay.
have experienced?
In hindsight of the problems that the group has experienced, I at one point asked about adding a female to the group. That was the group in the US, because I know that the woman's presence in the group of men with testosterone will bring about some calmness and be able to look at the issues without all the emotion that these men, because men are programmed to be warriors. And when they start getting into things that are heated, the emotions take over, and the woman is there to calm them and said, let's look at this way. But I guess that was never done. I am on this side of the fence, and I think that the men in the group, when they have issues, they should actually try and solve it then and there, nip it in the bud. Women tend to do that instead of letting it fester, because see, when something festers, it becomes a big sore and then it pops open, and this is what is happening here. There's a lot of issues that was going on and it wasn't resolved.
And when you add ego to the mix, what's your take on it? When you add
Ego
ego
according
to
to
the mix.
pride. I work in psychiatry, so I don't
Yeah.
want to start psycho.
No, talk, because I know the experience is painful for some of the brothers. I know it's
The
painful for her.
ego, yes, the air is. You see,
All of that.
everybody
And
has.
Brenda, you see, when I saw that thing with doing some, honestly, I said, that guy need a slap on his mouth. When I hear my talk and whatever, I said, oh man, you need a slap on him. You should have speak.
In
When you
spite
add ego to the mix, tell me, take it from me.
ego is something that we all have, and if we feel that our ego is being bruised, we get defensive.
Yeah.
All of us, we don't want anybody to bruise our ego. And in spite of this all that has been going on, I have had my days when I break down in tears. And I know this is probably gonna have people thinking, oh, she's a softie and she can't handle the pressure. That is not so. But when I remember the words that man said about me being a excrement, I smell. And he just kept on at it, and he had his group on the platform going at it. And I said to myself,
He had his wife beside him. That's
and
it.
then of course,
Quality.
but I don't want to get into any more verbal the behavior. In my opinion, he is verbally aggressive on his platform, and that is how he says he does his thing. And there's a saying, you catch more fly with honey than with vinegar. Obviously the vinegar it has been working for him, because he still have a following, right? I mean, lots of stuff that has gone on could have been easily resolved if there was understanding of the position of where I am coming from versus what he was told prior. Some of those things I wouldn't have been privy to what was going on behind the scenes. But it's unfortunate. I hold no ill will towards Mr. Rattigan or Lonesome. I don't. But all I want to do is move forward and get this organization registered and move along and do what we intended to do. That was my contribution. That is my contribution.
And that should still be your focus.
That is still my focus. At times,
So the question I want to ask the gentleman, is where we go from here? Where we go from here?
The,
We're going to
the,
have
the call to action group is intact. We have now a broader consensus of people from Canada and from the UK and from the US. We're doing what is necessary to survive and to fight corruption in Jamaica by any party. And I just want to say to my friends in the chat, you all need to do what is called a timeline to see when people come out and talk, because we kept quiet. And if you think when Lonesome was talking, he said, I asked him to keep things in confidence behind closed doors. He's right. Because I anticipated if he came out and started talking, then there'll be a lot of things that would be misunderstood. But not only did he say that, he also briefed his wife. And there are things that happen in our closed door meetings that he brought up. I didn't go there to badmouth him. I went there to tell him, hey, we did all right yesterday. Even though we started late, we survived. But when he insisted that he could run things and run it by himself, was when I said, let me go ahead and do a debriefing and let him know what exactly went wrong. And this is at his house. So he got a debriefing he didn't like. The debriefing, you can't have him or Ratty showing up to an event that go from 3 to 10 at 6:30 with a 6:30 start. You cannot have them bringing us thousands of miles away, costing us money to travel, and not have an agenda that we're going to follow. So all of these things came to the fore. No agenda, we're tired, we're hungry, and what happens? We have to put up with people who travel and coming in, buying food in US dollars because they didn't have Canadian dollars. So somebody say, okay, it's 25 Canadian dollars for a dish. You give them 50 US and you get back 25 Canadian. The Canadian dollars is 32 cents less than the American dollar. So people are upset they couldn't get a fair exchange, right? If you even take off 10 cents, you're still making money. But there's a lot of things that we said we would not have done it that way. And we said because you only had 80 or so people, then we most likely would have just catered to everybody. Just cook the food, feed the people. They're coming a long way. Make them feel good, right? Give them a drink. If you want chocolate, drinks, fine.
You have your style and way of doing stuff. And I guess the people in Canada have their way of doing stuff, you know. And it seems that I agree with Brenda, you know, that this thing is simmering for some time now, and no honest discussion taking place.
It's simmering since Monday, Mike. Not for some time. Monday.
It can't be Monday, my brother. When Rattigan left
Monday.
With
Rattigan is 2 months ago when Rattigan chose to leave.
Yes, so it's been simmering for some time.
Gentlemen, can I just say something that's important? You know, I don't want to give the public any impression that we are not planning. Some people don't like planning. Some people cannot plan. They think they can plan, but they can't plan. They're not exposed to it. We have a project manager there. We have people there, and so on and so forth, that are willing, that have done these things on a day-to-day basis. We have those people. And when sometimes you mention these things to people, they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear about planning for these things. And you have to plan. Okay? I mean, we do in the army called an appreciation. Okay? We look at the aim, we look at the factors that affect the aim, and then we do a summary of the major factors, and then we draw our bottom line conclusion. That's what we're trained to do. The military, in fact, is the
Don't
architect of all planning in the world, management planning,
I mean, I park.
SWOT analysis, anything you want.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay?
I
So
park.
I don't know what they talk, but some people don't like to plan. I do it, and so on. No. Everything has to be planned. The women. No, if you look in the call to action, we have brought in about 5 women. Yes, you're right. They will calm things down. And the male ego is a big problem. But the fact of the matter is that when we are among people who we trust and our friends, but you see, the problem is that you're not focusing on. There is some Anansi around. Anansi and Brother Tukuma and bring from one side to the next. Okay, and I warn certain people about that. I'm calling them in. I warn you that these people are dangerous. They have an agenda. I don't have any agenda except the Jamaican people, right? But I am telling you, if we don't look at that, and we have to look at it and say, look, who wants to destroy us? How are they doing it? Okay, and how do we move forward? Why did they attack Brenda? Right? Because they have now come up and say we want to take over the. No way. The Jamaica Diaspora Crime Intervention and Prevention Task Force is in the USA, Canada, and the UK. We are not doing so well in all directions as we are doing in. So let me say this too. We need to reorganize, regroup, and move forward. And we're willing to do that, but some people are not for their own reasons. And then you have those who are the opportunists who come and they're stoking the fire. And then I heard they talk one more last thing, Mike. I'm going to say this because I'm not going to jump in more here. Is that they say that we are after the money. Let me make it quite clear. I am a social security recipient, and I'm not ashamed to tell nobody. I retired to look after my mentally ill son. And I'm saying to you that, the fact of the matter is you cannot expect, if you're taking funds to do, you have to organize yourself. And they say we want people's money. I don't want nobody's money. I did what I did out of my own volition. I'm not going to go into the details. But for another time, you can come and you can listen to the details. I have no lies to tell. Okay, none whatsoever. So I just want you guys to know that there's planning. There was planning. Some people did not like it. Some people want to jump in, and then you have a lot of carry go bring come. And now they say we are trying to attack like what's his name? No way. No way, I would never do that. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Francis.
Yes. Sorry.
Gentlemen, I don't think we're going to resolve all this issue within 2 hours. It's going to take some time because it seems like a lot of hurts, among the brethren, a lot of hurt, disappointment and what have you. And I think I'm going to adopt what I was told to do. Let the dust settle. There need to be. If the brethren can cool off and forget this thing, work things out without having to resort to the courthouse, then it's something you guys should look at. I think all of you guys are coming from a good place. You want to see a better Jamaica. Let's not lose sight of that. Because we just celebrate 190 years of freedom, and it's a long time we've been trying to organize ourselves. Setback, look at Marcus Garvey movement. Setback, but we're still going forward. We're still moving along. And I asked the brethren, Herb, if you can find in yourself to sort of sit down and talk with the brethren, man. Talk to the other brethren them and see if you guys can come to some understanding, And leave the courthouse.
Mike, what today's date is 11 August.
Yeah.
Rattigan, I've been to his house, I covered for him on his show. We've started that thing together. Let me finish, Mike. Rattigan has never told me he was leaving our group. I had to find out from Dr. Francis. I had no clue he had left the group. And I'm on the show with him every week, up to last weekend. A week ago, I was on the show. And Rattigan said nothing to me all this time. Now, we have talked about a lot of things together and compared notes together. So I have no axe to grind against Rattigan. And even though he pulled that stunt 2 months ago, and because of that, his friend jumped in and said, I would never associate with Lonesome. And he cut his friend off. His friend of 52 years.
Well, I don't know.
There is nothing at all I can do to mend Rattigan's ego. It's bigger than this whole set that we're on right now. But he has got to learn what teamwork is, just like everybody else. And that's what we practice. He start believing this stuff. Prez is telling him, you're the fearless leader, right? We plan and we lead. We plan and we execute. So if any of the folks raising questions, trying to say, well, I have not claimed for travel. I don't claim for anything. So y'all can shut your mouth about that. Now, the bottom line is, yes, we helped out where people needed help. And the two people who needed help, I've said it before. And Doc Francis just spoke about it. The other person was Prezi. And Prezi said he's not going to travel anywhere and support us without us reimbursing him. So if Rattigan wants to approve that, it's on Rattigan.
Herb, it's now 5:45, and
10 minutes to.
I would like to go around and get some final words from the panel, because 6 o'clock we have to be out of here. Okay, so starting with, who is there? Brenda.
The final word on this, I am offering an olive branch to both Mr. Rattigan and Mr. Lonesome. That's my take on it. I don't have anything further to add to that.
Class.
My take is that it's all good and well that you say, I mean, guys must find a way to resolve the issues. But in resolving the issues, people have to have a certain attitude and a certain mindset. You can't try and resolve attitudes by calling your colleagues backstabbers and hypocrites and parasites and all of those kind of stuff. It has to be a kind of some compromise and some conciliation, right? And the other side willing to make some compromise and conciliation. You can't be stoking the fire and expect that things are going to resolve, right? None of us want to see this thing that is happening in this organization happen, right? And nobody should feel because we criticize them or because we try to hold them accountable that it is a personal attack on them. As long as people feel that when we criticize and try to hold them accountable, it's a personal attack, there will be no resolution. And that's what we're calling for. I mean, seeing the thing for what it is. Everybody in whatever organization should be accountable, should be willing to put their foot forward to say, this is what is happening, right? And not afraid to come in public and answer questions and face the people who support us. That is all that is required in a situation like this.
Patrick. You're mute, Patrick.
Yeah, sorry about that. My thing is that grown men have to act like grown men. There is responsibility, there is obligation, right? Some of what we talk about with the legal stuff and all of that, that is something that is both responsibility and obligation. But your first responsibility is to the people that you serve. Your first responsibility is not to IRS. And when you act in the ways that you act and you shy away from taking responsibility, you're not acting in accordance with what is expected of you. It means that your work has no integrity. It means that when you come on and you run your mouth on these platforms over months and over years, it don't mean anything. Right? So the first thing you gotta do is go stand in front of the mirror and really ask yourself the hard questions.
You know, I guess I'm the only one left, or is Herb?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to say this, that when I view Ratigan and where he, when he's on the show and I see where he's from, I want to say thank you very much first for having seen us, to clarify and to help to bring some semblance of propriety to what is happening to us here now and to the wider. And I also want to apologize to the wonderful, wonderful men and women who have subscribed to our cause and still do and are asking every day. We get memos from them. I want to really, really say, hang in there. This matter will be resolved. But I want to say this to you. When I look at Ratigan in his environment in terms of Waterhouse, I know Waterhouse, and everybody knows that I have some history of Waterhouse, as Mike will tell you. But the fact of the matter is, I'm from Ocherous, and I'm a barefoot boy. I grew up, I had no shoes on. I don't care when I went until about 11. And I won a scholarship to go to school at York Castle High School. So I'm not a privileged person. And I want that the same thing for every child. No matter who you are, where you are in Jamaica, I want the same thing to happen to them, the same type of progress. Okay? I see Marcus Garvey's situation. I'm a Garveyite, okay? And I can tell you something. I went back to listen to Malcolm X's views and so on how things do. And I watched another one on Donald, the father of the lady who was running for president. Come on. The fact that, and you should see those. Okay, let me tell you something. And that's what we wish for our country to advance. Singapore came here, looked at our situation, and we want us to advance. Corruption, crime, right? And promises are the things that is killing us in Jamaica. We have to resolve it. When you ask a Jamaican, look at how much crime, they say, boy, crime is everywhere. But they don't recognize that ours is far more prolific than anywhere else. So let me close by saying, I'm a scout. I learned many of my things from the scouting and the military. And one of the things I learned many, many years ago was the motto: trusty, loyal, helpful, brotherly, courteous, kind, obedient, smiling, thrifty, clean in thought, word, and mind. Now, the last one, I didn't adhere to that many. Clean in thought, word, and mind. I'm a guy. Straight up. I don't pretend. All right, and I'm no pastor. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to trust, integrity, ethics, leading by example, exemplo ducimus, that is what I stand for. And for anyone to come and say, boy, I am not perfect. I'm sure I've done things, in my life, and I'm not. But let me make it quite clear. People like us who take time out of our schedule to do what we're doing for our country, we know why we're doing it. And I beg you all to talk to those who are moving aside and doing what they're doing. And so, my brother, I hand it over to you, Mike. Thank you very much once again for everybody and all the listeners, all of the audience here. Let's keep it going. Thank you.
Herb, you have anything you want to say? Because you're
Yeah, well, I said on the only other program I ever appeared on was Wednesday. That's the only every time I spoke up. And I found it necessary to speak up at that time because there was a lot of misnomers out there. There's a lot of things brought up, and my name was coming off of people's tongue 1,000 miles an hour and attributing different things to me. Right? I'm a planner, I'm an executioner, and I do what is necessary to get the job done. I've been doing that, and I've stayed in the background and out of the limelight. I'm not going to put up with no more so and people talking on the side and don't know what they're talking about. I deal with a lot of idiots on a daily basis. And those are the people that put bad mouth out there and destroy people's reputation. Now, I said that everything I said in Canada was in confidence. I was invited to Lonesome's house, and I went there with good intentions. But when he was insisting on getting rid of Brenda and put himself up as King Lonesome, that he controlled things in Canada and everything had to come through him, I could not, in good conscience, give Brenda up and turn everything over to him. So it was easier telling him the truth about what had happened Friday night than giving him some song and dance routine and then him say, I come back, I lied to him, I didn't tell him the truth. He's complaining about the truth. He's complaining about hearing the truth. And then they're going to come back and try to use it against me. No. I gave an answer Wednesday night that apparently they weren't happy with. So they came on right after we spoke Wednesday night, and they had another program trying to twist and turn what we said. Well, Mike, you are the other neutral site we've been on. Sutherland TV Wednesday was neutral. You are neutral. As a matter of fact, you are the home of Rattigan. And we thought he would have had the cojones to come here on your program and face us. But what he does, he uses reverse psychology. He puts stuff out there that these small minds can grasp, and he can twist them any way he wants to twist them. Well, folks, you're hearing the truth. It's hard-hitting. We didn't hold back. We're telling you like it is. And what you have to do now is ask Mr. Rattigan if I've ever badmouthed him anytime at all in our relationship. I've always supported him. I've kept quiet on key things. And I want to make sure that when they put me out of OJLDF is going to survive, and OJLDF don't have to worry about being in trouble because of his shortcomings, right? So if these people can't take that, what they need to do, go do their own research. What governs a 501c3 and why we have to protect the organization against any damages coming from so-called leaders.
Okay,
and that's my comment. Thank you.
Gentlemen, Brenda, I want to thank you all again for a very informative discussion. The issue raised, don't expect them to get settled anytime soon. But we still going to make the effort to resolve them. Okay? My people, I want to thank you all. I'm looking at the comments and I see that you're also concerned just like me. But please avoid getting into the name calling now. I trust that the brethren them will find a way and work this out. Okay? Until next time.
Mike, they're asking about brown paper bag. All monies were turned over to Mr. Rattigan at the head table.
Hello, brother.
There's no brown paper bag.
I saw those things, but Mr. Rattigan is not here to defend himself against any of these things. So I try to avoid getting into that detail.
Well, they need to ask him, not me.
Okay. So until
Okay.
Dutch time, brothers and sister Brenda, walk good and one love, guidance and protection.
Love Jamaica. Love Jamaica. That's
Love
most
Jamaica.
important.
Okay, thank
Love
you.
Jamaica.
Have a good
All
week.
right. Thank you,
Bye.
my sister. Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
man.
much.
All right. Thank you, Brenda. Last,
Take care.
Patrick, I appreciate you guys. Mike, thanks for
Thank
your
you, man.
hospitality.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good night.
All right.
Okay.
Night,
Thank you.
night.
Good night.